Thank you for watching the continuation of what I was correct is a two-parter. John Sorenson wrote an open letter to Michael Coe after Michael Coe gave a 3-hour interview to John DeLynn of the Mormonstories podcast fame to be put on Mormonstories. And let's see. So I pick up where we left off. Quote, land bridge into Asia. This is something the Book of Mormon archaeologists don't really like to talk about. End quote. John Sorenson. Why this statement was made is a complete mystery in the first place because of the frequent expression, quote, Book of Mormon archaeologist, unquote, has no actual reference. Not a single archaeologist I know, or of whom I have heard, does or would call him or herself a, quote, Book of Mormon archaeologist, end quote. I know of only two who ever did, Wells Jakeman and Ross Christensen, both of whom have been deceased for quite a while. A few pseudo-archaeologists of a journalistic stripe lurk around the fringes of the Mormon intellectual community, but they are all pretension and no substance. Moreover, there is no reason that archaeologists who are Mormon would hesitate to discuss the Bering Strait route. Quote, Book of Mormon archaeologist, unquote, implies someone trained to a professional level who focuses inordinately on relating that book to the results of archaeology, to the exclusion of following professional archaeological goals. Frankly, none exist. Alright, my thoughts so far about that. There's a logical fallacy. Ad hominem attack. We could argue this is ad hominem attack or muddying the waters. Instead of calling names, he's a Book of Mormon archaeologist, don't listen to him. Just say, well, he didn't find this, he did find that, he found this and described it this way, but really this is a better description. But no, just throw that name out there and think that you've won something. Assertions or intimations that NWAF, for those of you who don't know that, didn't watch the first episode, first part of this, New World Archaeological Foundation is what NWF stands for. Alright, back to the letter. Archaeologists have striven to find proof for the Book of Mormon are completely false. Nothing could be further from the truth. Starting with the first season of the NWAF, parentheses, in 1953, end parentheses, even before it had any connection with the LDS Church, the operational guidelines were that the research be conducted according to professional standards without any reference to the Book of Mormon, although the funding was from private LDS donors. Pedro Armias was chosen to be the first year's field director upon the advice of Drs. Alfred V. Kidder, Gordon Wiley, and Gordon Ekholm, who constituted a professional advisory committee for Tom Ferguson. Gareth Lowe and I were the only archaeological people aboard the first season who were LDS. Other student staff members included Bill Sanders and Roman Pina Chan, parentheses, both of whom later became premier Mesoamericanists, end parentheses, who could hardly be supposed to be closet Mormons. From the beginning, non-LDS archaeologists working for the NWAF have outnumbered the archaeologists there who were LDS believers. From 1955 on, after Ferguson had appealed to the church for support funds, parentheses, having exhausted his private funding source, end parentheses, the eminent J. Alden Mason, an emeritus professor at the University of Pennsylvania, who had become editor of New World Archaeological Foundation publications, beginning parentheses, and who also assisted with archaeology, end parentheses, supported a judgment from Ed Shook, beginning parentheses, Carnegie, end parentheses, maybe that means Carnegie Foundation, About the NWAF, when Mason made a definitive statement on the non-involvement of the LDS Church authorities in planning or reporting the NWAF research. That position never varied from then to the present with such powerful professional assurances. Your own assessment visit to the Chiapas operation was hardly necessary. Moreover, your current intimation that there was a hidden church agenda behind its generous support of the NWAF is both flat out wrong and prejudicial to any fair discussion of the Foundation's role. Michael Coe, quote, "The whole business of ... Book of Mormon archaeology, beginning parentheses, is, end parentheses, to find Zarahemla, to find the plates of gold that were inscribed at the last trump, so to speak, end parentheses." Alright. John Sorenson, "This deserves to be called nonsense, without the slightest basis in fact." Yeah. One thing that disappointed me about this interview, I am convinced that North America is where the Book of Mormon happened, not Central America. Old me, Central America. Old me wasn't hearing all the facts. So I was really hoping Michael Coe would take an even-handed, fair approach in this interview, and I ended up being disappointed. And sometimes I was disappointed because he did not try to understand what he was talking about. Now, there are a lot of Mormons, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who would love to, know where Zarahemla was. Which city do we now call, which city actually is Zarahemla, which ruin, all those other cities. There's nothing wrong with that. But the last part of this quote, the gold plates that were inscribed, gold plates? Is he hinting at the Book of Mormon, or directly talking about the Book of Mormon, the original writing which was on gold plates? Here's an example of where it takes very little time to find out that we do not expect to get those plates by archaeological digging, because the angel of God took the plates back. Angel of God has the plates. So, yeah. We're not expecting them. We're not looking for the gold plates. Okay. Next thing. Near Eastern links. Michael Coe. So, quote, "So basically, if you are looking for old world connections and looking at the Near East, you're looking in the wrong place," end quote. Quote, "All sorts of things are typically American, ... Nothing to do with the Middle East at all, ... There's nothing in the slightest bit Middle Eastern about the Olmec," end quote, end quote. "You might plead ignorance of any purely Mormon efforts to demonstrate a relationship between Mesoamerica and the Near East, but how could you not be aware of my 1971 article that discussed this very point? Yet that piece is now superseded by a 2009 paper accessible online. You might well not have yet seen this recent item since the outlet is relatively obscure. It contains a list, along with extensive references to the literature for each item, of 380 correspondences between cult and ideology aspects of culture between the Near East and the first and second half of the first millennium BC on the one hand, and Mesoamerica on the other. The striking nature and number of the correspondences make it certain that there was a direct diffusionary event that anciently linked the two areas. I choose not to go further with this commentary. It has become rather tedious. My intention has been to inform you about errors in your statements in the podcast. I am sure you would not wish to continue saying what is not factual. Finally, I have a large book in the editing process that deals with these matters in great length. Parentheses, the 97-page list of references includes 21 of your writings, end parentheses. When it is in print, I will be pleased to send you a copy. It presents 420 correspondences between the texts of the Book of Mormon and Mesoamerican culture patterns and archaeological sequences. On that basis, I maintain there is no alternative to understanding that the Book of Mormon, in parentheses, quote, Mormon's Codex, end parentheses, end quote, end quote, in parentheses, could only have originated from the hands of a native Mesoamerican writer, and that scholars will do well to study it seriously, not flippantly. John L. Sorenson, Professor Emeritus of Anthropology at BYU, Brigham Young University, holds a PhD in Anthropology from the University of California, Los Angeles. He originated the program in Anthropology at BYU and headed it for 14 years. His academic and professional emphasis was in sociocultural anthropology, although since his retirement he has concentrated his research and writing on Mesoamerican archaeology. He was editor of the Journal of Book of Mormon Studies for 5 years and is the author of more than 200 books and articles. His book, An Ancient American Setting for the Book of Mormon, sets forth criteria that cannot be ignored when searching for the geographic setting of the Book of Mormon. Actually, that book can be ignored. If it's the one I've seen quotes from, he makes up things that are not in the Book of Mormon, reads things into it that are not there. But I'm not sure if those quotes are from that book or not. But definitely some people who agree with John Sorenson have made up things that are not there and taken things way out of context, and I strongly disagree with them, and I'm willing to hear them out. But I've heard them out already. But I'm open-minded, I'm willing to learn things, I'm willing to hear the possibilities. Alright, thank you for watching this. You have a good day.